Hey painting pals, welcome back to Mandy's Minis. Today is a big topic, so we're gonna jump right in and try and keep this video short. As you can see, I'm starting from a black primer instead of a standard zenithal. I'm using the white to outline exactly where the light will be coming from, and this will show me the outline of the finished look, with the overspray indicating what will be lit up by the lighting source. Light moves in a straight line, so your airbrush is the perfect way to place exactly where the light would fall. Now that I've established where the lighting will be, it's time to start placing it. Light fades and gets darker the further from the light source that you get. So I'm going to be layering up, starting with the darker colors. The black primer will be our darkest color. So here I'm using a 50-50 mix of red and black Liquitex ink. And that's going to create the darkest part of the light that we see. Unlike typical layering, I'm going to be jumping around with the colors in order to get the best placement for each. Next comes the brush painting for control of exact placement. Just like the airbrush was great to hit the broad areas, having more control over the placement will be crucial as we go into the further steps. I'm using Reaper's Fire Red as my next color. You'll notice there isn't much mixing as we want the extreme jumps because that is the contrast that we're going to be relying on to read as light. This particular mini is from Mammoth Factory Games, and it is a twisted take on Little Red Riding Hood, which of course made me instantly think of fire. With each of the layering steps, it's important to add multiple coats to ensure that the color can be read fully on the mini. The more opaque the paint, the better it is. Remember when I said I wasn't using that many 50-50 mixes? This is the one place that I do it. The orange seemed a bit too strong without it. So I took it back down to red. Then I started again with a 50-50 mix of Reaper's Fire Red and Hearth Fire Orange. Then I moved up to the full Hearth Fire Orange. Even with difficult techniques like OSL, it's just a variation of the main fundamentals like layering and contrast. What makes them difficult is the amount of time it takes combined with the necessity of the extreme contrast in order for it to read properly. If you're not reading your figure as light, then that means you probably have to add more dark as well as more light to give the contrast. The next color I'm moving to is Reaper's Candlelight Yellow. And when I first get this on, it looks more orange. And that's the reason why it's so important to bring your layers up to full opacity on each and every coat before moving on to the next layer. However, once I started with the Candlelight Yellow, I decided she no longer looked red, which is a problem for Red Riding Hood. So I got out the airbrush and glazed the orange, so that went down to a lighter red, and the candlelight yellow went to even more of an orange. And that meant it was time for take 2 on Reaper's Candlelight Yellow. But at least now it's looking more yellow. And finally, we get down to the white. For the brightest in whites, I use Liquitex's full body white acrylic. It makes every miniature painting brand's white look like they didn't use Tide. There is also a lot of back and forth on this step as I'm adjusting the blending and where the light is falling. Reinforcing the darker colors closer to the brighter ones to make more contrast. And I'm just reacting to what I'm physically seeing on the mini. I didn't film all of this, as if you've watched enough of my videos, you've seen me play the back and forth game before. I wanted to show you this special feature. This is what I think best sells this effect. That is the detail on the brightest reflection areas. It's also important to remember that light reflects differently on different types of material. The ribbon on her front, while closer to the lighting source, doesn't actually reflect the light as strongly as the metal clasps on her dress do. So those would be brighter. And there you have it. I wouldn't be scared seeing her emerging from the darkness upon me. How about you? These effects can look great and they're very impressive when they're well done. But it does take a great amount of time to ensure that you're hitting the right amount of contrast to sell it. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to try it, and if you do, tag or DM me as I'd love to see them. While you're down there, think about giving me a like or a subscribe if I've given you any valuable tips or entertainment. I mean, after all, you made it this far into the video for a reason, right? I also want to give a special thank you, shout out to our patrons. Thank you all so much for all of your support and for, of course, watching. That's it for this one, so until next time, have fun and keep creating.